Story 1. Back in the day, basic people couldn't figure out that whole modem, computer, internet thing. So it was a sea of people who were at least smart enough to follow some basic directions. It was glorious. Story 2. Websites. There were thousands and thousands of independent, unique websites people created as passion projects. We have largely funneled most activity to a few forums and social networks, which have homogenized content a great deal. Story 3. It was nice when you had to go to the corners of the internet to find wild conspiracies. Now I flip on TikTok, and I am inundated with things like, "This fog we are seeing is poison from the government meant to make us sick." Story 4. I liked the barrier to access. It was technically challenging and costly to get online. The internet was smaller, and Yahoo's approach to a human-organized directory was a reliable source of quality links. The worst part of the internet back then was America Online, but Facebook is the same thing fully fleshed out. Story 5. Internet memes had a much longer shelf life in the 2000s. People would be talking about videos like Numa Numa, Evolution of Dance, Chocolate Rain, and Here It Goes Again for months on end, and we liked it. It would be a niche thing for people who were in the know, like, "You saw that on the internet? That's cool." I simply cannot fathom the breakneck speed these kids cycle through memes these days. Story 6. You could get into heated arguments with people, and nobody complained to the internet moderators or tried to reveal your personal information. It was like a virtual bar fight, and it was awesome. Story 7. Somebody posted an answer to this a while back that really resonated with me. The old internet from the 1990s and early 2000s was really an escape from the real world. It is so embedded in our lives at the moment that it feels like second nature. We don't even realize it, or we do and take it for granted. But back then you had to access the internet by means of the family computer, or if you were lucky like my friend Sam, you had your own in your room where you and your friends could watch the most insane things ever and download fake pictures of Britney Spears, which I may or may not have put on a floppy disk to take back to my internetless computer. It took more effort to log on, so it felt more personal. Everything was new, too. Forums, Microsoft Network Messenger or America Online Chat, LiveJournal, and even MySpace towards the later years. These were all new ways to communicate with people from the outside world, and it was exciting for the time. Browsing websites seemed to be more interesting as well. When I want to know about something, I search it online and I'm done. Back then it was the same, but for me, I was more apt to check out video game and music websites that ranged from professionally made to built by some random individual who just wanted to create something. Felt like its own place, separate from your daily life. I missed that. Story 8. This might sound bizarre to some of you, but writing 500-word posts on traditional forums could actually end with everyone involved learning something, even if no one actually changed their minds. These days, if it isn't a 15-word tweet, no one will care, and people who disagree with you will just tune you out, so no one learns anything. Story 9. Ask Jeeves. Well-written game guides. Finding a random guy who put together 125 pages of information about a niche fandom he was super passionate about. People just experimenting with doing silly things without profit motive. People being kind and helpful to the tech illiterate. MySpace. Tom was my only friend. Story 10. Anonymity. You didn't tell people who you were, and nobody expected you to. We were a little paranoid about it, mind you. Our parents were like, "Never, ever tell anyone your name or they'll hunt you down and kill you." But still, Reddit is my main place these days because it is the last place that feels like the old internet. Nobody's interested in your name here. Story 11. Making my own websites from scratch with hypertext markup language. It was a whole thing. Other people who owned their own domain names would host you and share some of their space with you to make your own site. It was very prestigious in its own way. And there were website cliques you had to apply to join and meet a certain number of requirements, and you got a GIF to display on your own website. We made blogs and fan sites for various interests. I made several Sailor Moon character shrines. It was a wonderful time. I loved it. For reference, I am 36 years old. Story 12. No algorithm or anything on YouTube. Less censorship. You could say murder, death, or rape in a video on true crime and not say Una lived, or bleep it like the listener is 5. Story 13. I miss the days when browsing the internet was simpler and free of invasive algorithms. Websites had that unique, personal charm, and you could find real hidden gems on forums and blogs. I also loved the thrill of discovering new content without the constant pressure of social media. Story 14. Well, in the same vein of old forum posts, here is a lengthy reply. What I miss about the old internet is creating a space of your own. Make a website for your cat? Sure. Want to build a page on your love for an obscure book series? Sure. Want to have a forum for discussing a random TV show from outside your own country? Go for it. All you need is to know some HTML and CSS. That is what I miss, but here is the important thing. You can still create these spaces. Nothing is stopping you. The independent web is a movement of people just building things for themselves. I have been writing my weekly notes for over 3 years on a website I built myself, and every week I send the link to my friends. What made the old web was an understanding that if you wanted something in the world and it didn't exist, then you made it yourself. You don't have to view and create all content here on Reddit or Twitter or whatever monolithic tech company holds it. Even if you do, that's fine. That's what it is today, and here we all are. But creating your space in someone else's walled garden can be problematic because you don't really own it. Whatever you build on their platforms can be gone on the whim of a chief executive officer. We accepted this because they lowered the barrier to entry. But if you want a different internet, then learn HTML, learn CSS, and push to a server. Story 15. When many more people understood and followed the first law of the internet, don't feed the trolls. This law has been largely forgotten, unfortunately. Not only is it not outdated, but it is more important than ever. Social media is a troll factory, and it needs to be starved out. Story 16. Surprisingly good free games. Sonic games, cool math stuff, Webkins, Monkey Quest, Club Penguin, stuff like that. Very entertaining and well-crafted, and free or relatively cheap to join. Felt like everything was made with love back then. Now everything wants to sell something or will create a problem and sell you a solution. Or games like Monkey Quest just don't exist anymore. Story 17. A well-maintained and well-monitored forum. Now we're stuck with groups where the same subjects are mentioned repeatedly. Posts that are only there to get upvotes. Story 18. Wild West, but very personalized, very individual. Now it just feels so conformist. Not everything was a big sell or even hustle. There were tons of sites that were passion projects or even just for a laugh. Story 19. Fewer advertisements. Websites created and dedicated to a niche area, run by genuine enthusiasts who wanted to share their passion rather than make money. Story 20. I miss when every website was unique and creative, usually themed around the topic. Sweet flash animations, game-like user interfaces, and most of all, no ads. Well, maybe just a banner ad that wasn't fed by Google. Now everything is the same boilerplate design, and the ads are out of control. Most websites are unusable on mobile due to the ads taking over. I started designing websites in the 90s. I think the push for Web 2.0 was the beginning of the end. Social media integration was the big push. All websites started using Twitter Bootstrap or the equivalent. Flash was dead. Designing websites became extremely boring. I retired from programming and design in 2019. I used to have hundreds of bookmarks saved. Now I go to maybe 5. Story 21. The Wild West of YouTube. You could watch anything on there. No copyright. No family-friendly filters. Back before the algorithm was so aggressive and everyone had a fair chance at being seen. No advertisements. No paid subscriptions. Comments were wild. You could even message YouTubers. Story 22. Not having to accept cookies with every website I visited. Google Image just taking you to the image, not the website, and allowing you to search by image size for your wallpapers. There weren't ads that autoplay and stay on screen when you scroll. Story 23. Finding a new website that was entertaining was always exciting. I remember finding eBaum's World and Kill Sometime, and binge-watching the wildest videos. Miniclip and all the other similar gaming websites. Story 24. Simple and kitschy niche web pages that weren't constantly monetizing and loaded with ads. Check out racerxband.com. for the defunct shred metal band Racer X. The message board doesn't work anymore, but the rest of the site seems to work, and it is a glorious time capsule of the old internet. Story 25. The average quality of people you met online was way better. Since the bar of entry was higher, it helped filter out a lot of the less desirable individuals. Now everybody is online, so you get to see more of the lowest common denominators. Story 26. AOL discs in the mail every other day. I think I still have some in the attic with a bunch of discs with one song on them and a Winamp installation file. Story 27. Not having a large number of ads plastered across the screen followed by even more when I move my mouse in a way that might indicate I'm going to leave the site. Story 28. Being amazed at the ingenuity and creativity put forth in every new thing you would find online. No one was concerned with becoming famous by making cool stuff and sharing it with the world. Everyone was just concerned with making cool stuff. Corporate interests didn't control every aspect of day-to-day surfing. Story 29. Diversity. Now everything is formulaic and spoon-fed to you via algorithm from a handful of corporations. Back in the day, there were all kinds of unique cultures and corners of the internet you could come across, for example, the golden era of StumbleUpon. But now everything is channeled through platforms like Facebook and Reddit in basically a single format. Story 30. What made the old internet different was all the little things. Old computers were a lot simpler, and you got the sense that you understood most aspects of how your computer worked. They were nowhere near as feature-rich, but you felt like it was something you were in complete control of. It's very similar to old cars versus cars today. That connection to your machine made logging into the internet feel like something you were actively doing, not something just passively going on in the background. We weren't connected to everyone by other means. There was no texting from a phone or logging into some social media platform to see how someone's vacation was. We knew our friends' phone numbers off the top of our heads and had to wait our turns to call them, and then hope they were home and free to talk. The introduction of the internet brought chat rooms where we'd meet up and act like the kids we were. Later, we got things like AOL Instant Messenger that let us leave texts when our friends got back to their computers. I have fond memories of connecting with my wife this way in college. Then we got things like Yahoo's voice chat and then video chat. Communication is objectively easier and better today, but there was something charming about constantly finding new ways to connect with friends on the early internet. The internet wasn't structured. No one had figured out what was the right way to make a website. Every website was kind of an adventure. There was a lot of silliness like garish colors, poor MIDI music, and fun cursors. Sites were handcrafted, so there was a reason to explore nooks and crannies for surprises. The idea of a guest book or a dedicated page for downloading a screenshot is quaint today. Now every website basically follows the same boring structure. The bottom of every website is the same grid of useless customer service links. The top of every website is the same tab structure. Sufficient, sure, but it's boring compared to the old days. This is a little gatekeeping, but there were fewer people on the internet, and the people there were generally better participants. Not all, my friend, and I definitely went into chat rooms just to say curse words because we were mature like that, but because people had to work a little to get involved on the internet, they typically played nicer. Story 31. I'm young, okay? Old internet, for me, isn't like the 1980s or 1990s or whatever. That being said, Club Penguin, early 2010s YouTube, not having unskippable ads show up for things you have already purchased or consumed, Flash games, and the games you would find on Facebook or the Disney or Cartoon Network websites bring so much nostalgia. Story 32. MSN Messenger as the only social network. No Facebook, no WhatsApp, no YouTube. Just text-based chat on PC. Damn. Phones didn't even have internet connection. Story 33. Back when my family got our first modem, 1400 baud, there were no browsers and everyone you communicated with online had to have a certain level of computer literacy. Story 34. Websites that just worked. No advertisements, no pop-ups, no need to make an account. Craigslist is the only example I am aware of that is still functionally focused. Sure, it looks terrible, but it does exactly what it should. Story 35. Usenet flame wars could get heated yet were nothing compared to the polarized politics and social media posts we have today. AltaVista and Yahoo search results actually being good. The ease of joining highly varied internet relay chat groups. Sharing software on Usenet was as good as the selection on early Pirate Bay. Story 36. When America Online was a thing, getting online meant chilling in chat rooms and private chats with those programs we called progs. There is a service that's reviving AIM and America Online, but anyone old school doesn't care and has moved to various Discord servers. Only maybe 3 people from those days use it, along with a bunch of teenagers or people in their 20s who weren't around then. Story 37. Everything was new and exciting. It was all still playable and explorable by the average Joe. Just like classic cars or radios, you could tinker with yourself and see how everything worked and build your own. The early internet was fun in that same way. Now it is all capitalized and commercialized and corporatized. Story 38. It was like discovering and exploring a whole new game. People pretty much had no idea how to work things out. 2 in the morning in front of your big CRT monitor trying to find stuff. And to people who said no ads. Yeah, no. There were a lot of ads back then as well, maybe even worse. Nowadays, you have easy access to ad blockers. Back then, 1 click and your computer was infected. Not to mention the fake click here or close buttons.